Hello everyone and welcome to the Healing Conversation, and you're with me, your counselor, Catherine Tangalimodzi. In today's talk, we are looking at the psychological well-being, but remember we are coming from the word, defining the word mental health, where we looked at the absence of mental health disorders. So we are looking at the mental health wellness of an individual, and in our series we've been comparing our mental health aspect with the physical aspect. And in today's talk, for us to understand it better as well, in the simplest terms, we are going to compare our psychological well-being with our physical well-being. You know that in every situation that happens to every person, there are ways how we think and interpret that situation. It can be a good situation, but also a bad situation. We have thought patterns. So when we're talking about the psychological well-being, we are looking at an individual's interpretation to the events that have happened to the person. This can be a good thing, but can also be a negative one. So people think either way, in a negative format, but also in the positive way. But every person has been given a chance to respond to a situation in a very different ways. The way I cope and respond to situations may differ to how you respond and correspond to that situation. So for example, we want to compare with the physical well-being. We all eat to be alive, all right? I choose and I select nice food that I want to put in my body for the health benefits of myself, how I want to eat. That's why you have other people that they only want to eat organic foods, and others they said no, I'll only eat maybe fruits and vegetables. But we also have other group of people, they eat whatever is there in their plate. Can be processed food, can be junk food. So the groups of food are also there in different forms, but also have different health benefits to an individual, and the effects may also vary and matter to individuals. So with the psychological part, again, we select the food we want to feed our brain or to feed our psychological self. So if a situation occurs to me, for example, I'll use a very hard example, that a lot of people maybe are experiencing it. If I lose a loved one, someone so dear to me, someone so close to me, I can also respond to that situation in a different way. Some people, their life will stop because that person, what they meant to them, it doesn't mean that the person meant so much than any other person, but it's how they are processing their thought. It's how they're looking at the situation. How am I going to survive after this person has gone? How am I going to eat? And they interpret the situation and say, I'm also dead. And their life, what they are choosing or what they are eating, what they are feeding their psychological being is that death has defeated even their own life. They cannot move on, they cannot progress. I'm talking this with passion. With passion, but also knowing that people are in this situation. But someone in the same situation, somebody close to them has died, they can also think in a different way that, okay, this is the world. We have lost someone who we dearly loved, but how best can we move on with life and still function in the absence of the person that is gone? So they are looking at ways of coping in a healthy way, but this other person is trying to survive and cope, but in a negative way. So every situation you're going to respond. But what we're looking at into this is your thought respond to what has happened. In our previous presentation, we talked of the emotional part. How well do you experience that emotion, the subjective thing that you feel in your body? But in this, we are looking at how well does your mind interpret that situation. If you're going through divorce, what is your mind interpreting that divorce? Is it the end of you? You cannot survive. How are you going to raise the children? Or you're going through divorce, but you're thinking that, okay, there are so many people that have gone through divorce, but they have survived. How best can I reach up to them and ask them how they made the journey? It doesn't mean they are belittling what they're going through, but their mind is focused, or they're feeding their mind to say, these things have happened, but how well do I pick up myself and start going? That's where the whole thing is all about. So the psychological well-being, how best do I interpret the events? My mind, every person has a thought pattern. Your thoughts, there's something that you interpret if something has happened. How best do you interpret that situation? Your mind is telling you something. If your mind is telling you are useless, you'll be useless. If your mind is telling you that, you know what, That's the end. You don't matter. You cannot do anything. You don't exist. You will live, but you'll not be existing. So the thought pattern that we're talking about, it's a long process, but I've just simplified it. How best do we respond to that? And that's why it's not as easy as it is. You are switching on and off the light. That's why we have people who are professionals who can help you to say, okay, how best do I process my thought patterns? Thank you so much for being there and listening to the Healing Conversation. Stay tuned for more presentations. You're with me, your counselor, Catherine.